All right, everybody, this is a broadcast of the Ebony Star Network, sponsored by the E Nation. We are back with part four of Super Black versus the Sellout Syndrome. Today, we will be talking about separation by identification, something we started the other day, but we could not finish because of the interruptions. But we will be talking about it tonight. Separation by identification. All right, everybody, let's get it going without even further ado. James, drop it. It's Gangsta Talk. All right. What's going on, y'all? Blast from the blast. That was special ed. You know me, I'm old school. What's going on, everybody? It is Gangster Talk. Shout out to Mika, already here in the house, and those who will be showing up, our strong supporters. You know how we get down before I get started. We're going to do that sound check. Sorry about the other podcast. This is a redo of that podcast because we had so many technical issues. We had to shut the show down. But we are in a good spot today, and you will hear what I intended to say the other day. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So let me get that sound check. Everybody know what's going on. Shout out to Mr. Briggs.
All right, I can hear you.
All right, everybody, we're coming in real good. We're coming in real good. All right, so let's get this show started. Everybody can come on in. Just have to catch up, play catch up. All right, it's Super Black versus the Sellout Syndrome, and we're doing part four. In the part four, we're talking about this is going to be a long series, y'all. We might have about, I don't know, 25 or 30 parts because we got a lot of things to go over, a lot of things to discuss. As we do these series, you're going to see that we're going to bring about solutions. This is the first step to a solution. The title is called Separation by Identification. All right. Now, as Black people, we get distracted more than any other race of people on earth. That's another thing that's stopping us from unifying, stopping us from accumulating wealth. It stops us from achieving our goals. The problem is we don't know how to identify people who are distractors, not detractors, but distractors. I'm going to show you how to identify Black people who are actually distractors and who are anti-Black. You see, you have to separate yourself from the anti-Black people, and you need to get around people who are pro-Black. Now, pro-Black doesn't mean that you wear an afro and you stick your hand up in the air, ball your fists up, talking about some Black power. That's all nice and everything. But pro-Black is a lifestyle. It's a mentality. It's the way you think. It's the way you live. It's not just some passing gimmick. It's not put on a leather jacket and try to look like Bobby Seale. That's not what it's about. It's about staying true to who you are, staying true to your race, and staying loyal to your race above everything else. Some people call this being Black first. Now, we have to learn how to identify distractors. We have distractors everywhere. The Legion of Coons are the most deadly enemy that Black people have ever had to endure. Since the meritorious manumission created coon after coon, Sambo after Sambo. The Legion of Coons that are out here right now, and this wanting to sell out. This selling out, it seems to be a fad, made popular by guys like Kevin Samuels, anti-Black men like Kevin Samuels, anti-Black people like the Manosphere, anti-Black people like the conscious community. Selling out has become something that a lot of young Black men are striving to do. I mean, I've never thought that I would meet a person who was hell-bent and determined on selling out the entire race. But we have people like that today. So let's get into this conversation. Separation by identification. The beginning of a solution for Black people. Now, anti-Black is what you got to separate yourself from. Now, let's get into the distractors. When you have normal conversations, right, some things are obvious. The obvious distractors are the ones who say things that have these far out meanings to them, things that make you stop what you're doing and think about it. Because you see, Black people are very symbolic. At least we've shown ourselves to be very symbolic, right? And so people have taken advantage of that. So they've given you symbolic knowledge. Like, for example, if we're having a conversation about progressing, now how do we progress? We need to homeschool our children. So we're setting up a network within our community to homeschool our children or to keep our children in the community being schooled, right? And someone comes and say, well, we are older than the sun, the moon, and the stars. That is a distractor, people. That is a person that is anti-Black. That is a person that seeks to stop the conversation that is being had about building a network to take control and stay in charge of the education of our children. See, when a person says something like that, what it does is it stops people from talking. It makes people turn and look. Now it steals their interest from the task at hand onto that. And then you get into a conversation with the person that you just think said some really, 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 really powerful stuff, when in fact they said absolutely nothing. Now you engage in a conversation with that person because that person made you think that they're smarter than what they really are. And that they're so smart, they just said something that went over your head. So you figure if somebody could say something that goes over your head, then they're worth your attention. And so when you have stuff like that, that is a distractor. Now, let me tell you something else that is a distractor. How many of us talk about a difference of opinion or having an opinion, right? Well, we don't ever think about that as a distractor. But that's also a distractor. Like if you're having a conversation again about fixing the educational system for our children and taking charge of our education over our children, and someone comes in and doesn't like the fact of how you're going about it. Now, say it's 10 of y'all, and 9 of you have agreed, right? 9 of you have agreed, and 1 of you has disagreed and said, no, I have a right to have an opinion. I have a right to be different. I have a right to think what I want to think. That is a distractor. Now, that person is stealing the attention away from the task at hand. And now the focus is on that person. And now that person is gathering support from the other 10. Now you've effectively stopped talking about what you was talking about. You're no longer building, you're no longer putting together the situation for your children. Now you're into this person's rights to say what he or she wants to say. That is a distraction. That is also anti-black. You understand what I'm saying? See, when people get into this, oh, it's my right to have a difference of opinion. And then if you have a problem with it, then they start a fight with you and they add other people in. And now you got a big old melee about you taking somebody's rights away because you don't like what they said and you can't tell that they have a difference of opinion. Now you're fighting. So not only did this person accomplish you stopping your goal, but they also got you into a fight. All of this behavior is destructive, people. This is all anti-black behavior. Let me tell you something. How do you think things get done in this world? How do you think the Empire State Building went up, or the Twin Towers, or any major project? In order for something of that magnitude to happen, there has to be total agreement. You have to be unified in your thinking. You can't have a person having their own opinion, or you'll never get it done. If you're going to achieve as a people, you have to be unified in your thinking. Your thinking can't have a weak link. Like 20 of you can't decide that you want to take care of the children, education, and 5 of you are thinking about doing something else. That's not unified thinking. Now you're not going to get what you decide to do. You're not going to get it done because you don't have unified thinking. You cannot achieve anything on a decent level in this country or in this world without unified thinking. I don't care if it's 2 of you. As long as your thinking is unified and you're going to carry it through. That's why distractions are so devastating, because they distract you from being unified in your thoughts. Once the distraction comes along, then it breaks the unification of the mind, right? People come in and say, okay, again, let's go back to taking the education out of the white man's hands and putting it in the hands of black people, taking control of our education and the education of our children, right? Now, 5 or 10 of us, we get together, we say, hey, highly favored, I like this, I like that. I want to do this for the kids, I want to do that for the kids. Highly favored, she agrees. Then we get Mika to agree. Then we get Hassan to agree. Then we get Emmanuel Briggs to agree, right? Now, you know what that's all? We're now starting to unify in our thoughts. And once you become unified in your thoughts, this is how you get something accomplished. You don't get things accomplished by bickering amongst each other and fighting about who has an opinion or who has a right to have an opinion. Groups like that don't get anything done. You can't achieve anything like that. This is why you have to separate yourself from anti-blackness. Now, people are going around trying to paint blackness out to be the worst thing on earth, but it's actually the best thing on earth. What you need to be doing is separating yourself from anti-blackness, but you need to understand how to identify anti-blackness, because anti-blackness is not just aggressive, it's very subtle. Sometimes anti-blackness is nice. It comes in the form of being nice and subtle and cuddly, right? Like a woman can come up on here or a guy can come up on here and be very well spoken and soft spoken, but be extremely anti-black. Say we're having a conversation in here and we decide that we're going to go into Yvette W's neighborhood, right? Because Yvette said, hey, E Nation, we need a traffic light in my neighborhood because of the kids, such and such, such. We also need a place for our kids to play. Preferably, I don't want our kids playing outside because it's dangerous. We want our kids to play indoors where we can monitor our kids. Okay, so now we got a project, right? We're sitting in here, we're talking about building something in Yvette W's neighborhood that's going to house the children and keep them out of the street, keep them out of harm's way. Also, we're going to solicit the people in the state for a traffic light, right? So now, how do we get that done? The people in here who are talking about it, strategizing about it, have to be unified in their thinking. The thinking has to be unanimous. That's the only way something like that is going to get done. You cannot have a situation where, well, I have a difference of opinion. Well, your opinion, listen, so-and-so, we need this done. Yeah, but I don't agree with y'all. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this. Now you're arguing with somebody who has a difference of opinion. And that person believes that they're more important than everybody in the group who's trying to strategize to get something done. So now you got a problem. Because if you say to the person, well, we don't care for your opinion, we're trying to work and get something done, then you are a this and you are a that. Now you're not allowing someone a right to have a different opinion, and you are going against people who have differences of opinion. Now you're a bully, you're a bad person, you're public enemy number one, right? And so now that breaks down the rest of the group. Understand something. People are very, very fragile emotionally. People are very fragile mentally. It doesn't take much for a person to break down in this day and age. A lot of people aren't made out of the old stuff. They aren't made out of the ram stuff, the rough and tough and tumble stuff, the blacktop. They don't come from the era where you got bodies slammed on the blacktop, where you got your teeth rattled, where you got your whole skeleton rattled, but being body slammed on a blacktop. They're not built from that. They don't come from that. So a lot of people are very fragile. So if you get enough stuff going on, even the people you have on your side will start to doubt what's going on. And they will start to take sides. Now you have this person who's anti-black. Not only did they tear up what's going on, but now you have a mutiny on your side. So now everything is messed up. Now we can't get the project done in Yvette W's neighborhood because we can't be unified in our thoughts. We're up here arguing with an anti-black person who doesn't want to go along and doesn't want to unify in the thought process because he or she believes that he or she is more important than the group and that he or she's rights is more important than everybody else. So you have to be able to jettison that type of stuff, right? You have to be able to ignore that kind. You have to be able to block off that kind of stuff. But you see, fear allows us to interact with people like that to our detriment. We think that if we tell these people, okay, you know what, you can go on somewhere else, we don't want to deal with that. That's a bad thing. But let me tell you something. That's exactly what happens when people together and they're serious enough to get something done. They tell people who are not with it to go take a hike. The people who built the Empire State Building told people who had differences of opinion to go take a hike. Go jump off the George Washington Bridge. The people who built the Twin Towers told the naysayers to go take a hike. You have to have unified thinking in order to get things done. When you have distractors who come in here with the sun and the moon and star nonsense and tell you things like the earth weighs. You know, I had a guy tell me one time how much the earth weighed. I want you to think about that for a second. You're talking about a person who's never been off this planet. Don't even know what size the earth really is. But told me this was a 5%er. He said, yo, my brother, man, yo, peace, black God. I'm like, okay. I'm having a problem with my paycheck, but I don't know about this God business. But he called me a black God, right? All right, whatever. He said, brother, do you know how much the earth weighs? I said, I do not. I didn't know the earth had any weights. Yes, it weighs. This is what he told me. He said, I'll never forget this. This happened about, when I was like 20. I believe I just turned 28. And I'll never forget where I was. I was at a company called, I can't get the name of the company right now. But anyway, we was in the yard, right, chilling. He told me, he said, my brother, the earth weighs 2 quintillion with body of water on it. That's what he told me. Let me say it one more time, and then I'm going to give you guys a second or two to absorb what I'm saying. This is 5% of shit. He was a 5%er. He said the earth weighed 2 quintillion. He said quintillion. Quintillion. Because I said, you sure quintillion, brother? Yeah, man. Quintillion is a cosmic number. Okay. So the earth weighs 2 cosmic numbers with body of water on it. That's what he told me. The earth weighs 2 quintillion with body of water on it. This was a 5%er. To the day, I have no idea what the hell that means. I know a quintillion is something like a formal dance or some shit. So unless he's telling me the earth weighs 2 formal dances, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Never told me what the cosmic number was. Just says the earth weighs 2 quintillion with body of water on it. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. It's funny how somebody comes up to you and tells you that the earth weighs something, but there's no numbers in the expression. So this is a distractor. Because if this person, and we're in the middle of a serious discussion, and we're in Yvette W's neighborhood, and we're getting ready to make a difference in her neighborhood because she solicited her E-Nation brothers, who she know can get the job done, to come to her community and fix something. We have every intentions on doing it, So while we're strategizing about what we're going to do, a person like this comes in and says, hey, do y'all know that the earth weighs 2 quintillion with a body of water on it? This is a distractor, people. Learn to identify distractors. They come at all levels, except children. Children get a pass. Distractors. People who tell you that they have their own opinion. People who tell you, well, that's just your opinion. People who always telling you that it's your opinion and they have their own opinion aren't realistic people. These are people who do not live in the real world. These are people who live in the world that they created themselves. And in their world, everything is an opinion. Nothing is fact. Nothing is a possible or maybe. Everything is an opinion. In this person's world, you can't even have a true conversation because there's no facts involved. Everything is an opinion. So, distractors. Now, one of the most lethal distractors are the guys with the so-called knowledge. The so-called knowledge of self, the so-called guys who read books that don't really tie to us, the guys who say crazy things like, we're older than the sun. I don't know how you get older than the sun. I don't know how you exist before the sun. Without freezing to death. You got people who say we have no beginning and no end. You have conscious people who talk about we need to reach a higher state of consciousness. These are the most dangerous distractors out there. You know why? Because they mesmerize black people. Black people are very symbolic. These people come with this symbolic fake hotep knowledge, and the black people get mesmerized. They fall in love with these people. Look what happened with Brother Polite. A prime example of what I'm talking about. Black people loved Brother Polite. Right up to the moment where he got all that money from Trial on Kemet, or Kemet on Trial. They made over $1 million. He got his little bit of money. The first thing he did was go out to LA and start swirling. And what kills me is these guys know damn well that they don't mean the black community any good. And you can't see it. And when you give them your money, they go and they buy clothes and they buy fancy cars and they pose. Basically a slap in your face. And the thing about it is you think that they deserve it because you think that there's some kind of real person that's actually helping the black community and that they've taught you something. Even though what they've taught you, you can't use and you don't use. Well, some of you try to anyway, but the only way you use it is to pass it on to someone else. Because it doesn't really apply to real life. You can't really use it to get out of the situation that you're in. Even if you decide to go, okay, well, you know what, today I'm going to have a higher state of consciousness. Okay, you're going to have a higher state of consciousness. Okay. Are you paying your rent this month? Or is your higher state of consciousness telling you not to pay rent? Are you paying your bills this month? Or does your higher state of consciousness tell you not to pay your bills? So you have to, these guys are the most dangerous. Guys like Zion Lex over there in the conscious community, Sinetta, these guys are dangerous. As long as you listen to these guys, as long as you support those type of communities and those factions, you will never ever build anything. You will never accomplish anything. You won't accomplish anything. You'll be sitting around being symbolic. If you look at a lot of black people, right, you can tell the black people who are really into nothing, especially the ones who adopt these factions and these phony intellectual ways, right? The names, the names alone will tell you that these people aren't ready for anything serious. The names are all symbolic because when you say one of their names, right, it's meant to be a grandioso, over the top expression. You know, like Dwale Akufu, Dwale Akufu, Brother Africa. And so Dwale Akufu, Brother Africa, gets you all mesmerized. So you think that this brother really has something deep to say, right? And he really doesn't. He really don't have anything to say. But you're so symbolic and you cannot recognize distractors. You get caught up in Mr. Dwale Akufu, Brother Africa. And you see, Africa is another thing that gets a lot of black people. When people want to attract other black people, they use Africa a lot. Simon Africa, Layla Africa, Sister Africa, Brother Africa, Sam Africa, Bobby Africa. And here you come running because you have a symbolic nature. You have to get out of symbolism and start getting it and start living in reality. And start learning how to recognize these distractors. All of the conscious community, all the black factions are anti-black. It's time to separate by identification. You are pro-black. That is your identification. They are anti-black. That is their identification. It is time to separate by identification. Separate yourself from the anti-black people, from the distractors. And don't be afraid to label someone anti-black, because if they're there to disrupt what you're trying to do, that is anti-black. Anti-black is not a mistake. It's deliberate. So when people are there trying to throw a monkey in front of you to entertain you, that's being anti-black. And we have to stop being so symbolic. So guys like Brother Polite, Sankofa, Daniel Allah, Zion Lex can take advantage of our symbolism. And Zion Lex is a bum. He's just as bad as Brother Polite. And there's a lot of brothers on here who are phonies, but they have names that you enjoy, but they are not pro-black. They're here to present entertainment. They're here to present you with the latest news article, and they're here to act like they're doing something and to show you that they got boots on the ground because they have connections with certain people. But you see, those connections don't add up to anything. Now, there are a few brothers on here who are doing things in real life. Shout out to Q Butter. There's some real brothers on here now. There's a couple of them on here that's real as I don't know what. Okay? And they get it done. But the majority of the brothers over here are phony. They fake. They're not doing a damn thing. They just want you to come to their channel, throw them cash apps, be entertained. They can sit up there and talk to you for 2 hours about nothing. And you walk away and you've gained nothing. You see, what I want you to do when I do my podcast, I want you to walk away with something. I don't care if it's one thing that I said that caught your attention. If it caught your attention, that's what I want you to walk away from. If it caught your attention that Max said, hey, we need to learn how to identify distractors, people who are anti-black. And the way we identify is we listen. A person who says that they have a difference of opinion and that they believe that their opinion is more important than the thoughts of a collective group is anti-black. So now you know what to look out for, right? With the obvious conscious community and all these other black factions. So I'm hoping every time I do a podcast, some of y'all walk away with one thing, something you didn't know before, something you learned, something that you can apply to in real life. You see, I don't talk about impossibilities. I talk about things that you can apply to your life right now that'll change things. See, I don't believe in talking in riddles. I don't believe in telling you about 50,000 years ago what happened in fucking Egypt and Kemet and all this other fucking fanciful bullshit. I don't believe in any of that. Black people need solutions. We need something working. We need working models to help us get out of this situation. So we take a little bit at a time. I'm here to give you something practical that you can use. Something that you can go home tonight and say, hey, you know what? That Max, Javi, goddamn, he's right. Because I'm trying it and it's working. I've already identified 7 coons and 7 anti-blacks. So you've already identified 14 people who are all anti-black. Simply because you were listening to me and you learned something from what I said. See, that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to reprogram your mind a little bit at a time and open up your eyes a little bit at a time to get you to see what's been hurting us, to get you to see what's been hurting you and how to deal with it, how to get around it. You understand? Separation by identification is the earliest solution that we can start on. Separate yourselves from those who are anti-black. Anybody who is looking to be ununified in their thought process cannot be with a group of people who are pro-black. Because in order for you to get something done, you must be unified in your thoughts. That's how you get stuff done. You don't get stuff done when you're arguing about this, and that, and somebody's arguing that their opinion should matter more than the whole group. That's not how you get stuff done. A group like that will never get anything done. You'll never accomplish anything like that. You must have unified thinking. That means everybody must be on board in order for you to carry out a project. Everybody that's involved must be on board. Everybody that's involved must have a yes vote. There is no, well, can we have a conference and throw this in there and throw that in there and have a difference of opinions? I mean, nah, ain't none of that going on. Okay? We got a problem now with differences of opinion. You notice that they always lead to fights because as soon as you say something that is against what they're talking about, they try to jump on you and they get all loud with you and they say, oh, well, you're trying to stop me from having my own opinion. When that's not what you were trying to do. But that's what they're going to say because they're fragile people. You see, they don't have anything else in life to hold on to. We had a young lady up here the other day, and shout out to her. This is no knock to her because a lot of people, young people, are getting caught up in symbolic things and being told all these fairy tales. People are taking advantage of how naive black people are and how naive black people are and how we're so caught up on symbolism. And so they tell you stuff like, hey, listen, if you come sit next to this tree and you drink some herbal tea with some brandy in it, and while you're drinking the brandy, take a couple of shots of tequila. And then while you take a couple of shots of tequila, also take 2 or 3 shots of Everclear. And then sip on the brandy. So now you're full of tequila and Everclear and you're sipping on brandy. Sitting at a tree. And they're going to tell you, wow, you will start to feel nice. You will start to feel like you're floating in air. Now you can talk to the ancestors. Oh, okay. You're drunk. That's why you're floating in air. You're drunk. There's no magical thing that happens. You're drunk. People have gone and smoked the peace pipe. You get high. Now, when you high, if you want to pray to your ancestors, that's fine. Anything that causes you to have hallucinations isn't good for you. It isn't. Okay. I was looking at some drug yesterday that they were advertising on TV, and the thing had 5 different ways that it caused death as a side effect. But yet they advertised that shit on TV. 5 different side effects that cause death. Do y'all guys pay attention to that when they advertise the medication? Do you pay attention to the side effects? Most of the side effects cause death. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, right? In order to achieve something, people, we have to be unified in our thinking. It's not going to come anywhere else. We're going to get that project done in Yvette W's project. Neighborhood. We have to be unified in our thoughts. We cannot be distracted by anti-black people. Now remember, anti-black people aren't always over the top aggressive. Some of them are very nice. Some of them have very pleasant personalities. Some of them you talk to all the time, and you would never know that they were pro-black until they open up their mouth about a particular subject. And you come to them and you say, well, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. And then they start telling you, well, I wouldn't do that with this Negro because you know how black people are and they wouldn't do this and that. These are people who are anti-black. When they start telling you what you can't do, when they start telling you what you can't do because of some other Negro, they are anti-black. Okay? Pro-black people support each other. They support each other's ideas. Pro-black people are looking to get the job done, unified. People who are non-pro-black don't want anything to do with unity or any kind of unified thinking, because they feel that no matter what it is, their precious rights to have a difference of opinion is being infringed upon. So basically, it's all about them. And people like that do not belong in a pro-black group, because all they're going to do is distract everybody else in the group. Remember what I said? A lot of people are fragile today. Okay? A lot of people are mentally fragile. So you can end up with a movement against you that's anti-black and a mutiny on your own end because you got fragile people. This is why it's very important to not engage anti-black people who are distractors. And remember, let's go over how we identify. We identify with those who are hell-bent on their own opinion. We identify with those who have pseudo-knowledge, either from the telling you crazy shit like we've been living way. You do that. And so this is the first solution in the step of trying to rebuild blackness. Beautiful pro-blackness, true pro-blackness. Not this fake hotep shit, not this fake fair weather black shit, not this scared to be black shit. Like these sissy bims are scared to be black. The maniqueers are scared to be black. Kevin Samuels is afraid to be black. Golden Showers and Golden Arsenal, whatever the fuck his name is scared to be black. These are people who are delusional and think that running around in a white man's world is security for them. And so they're willing to abide by the rules the white man's rules. They're willing to stay humble. They're willing to stay on their knees. They're willing to live on their knees. Remember, they're selling living on their knees as it being something profitable. The same as a lot of crazy Muslim martyrs think that they're going to go to heaven and meet seven virgins, even though the Bible don't never talk about women in heaven, nor does the Quran. Okay? But somehow they convinced these people to give up their lives and that they will have seven virgins in heaven. Now you done blew yourself all to hell, and so when you get to heaven, you're going to have seven virgins. How sexually perverted is that? You get someone to throw away their life over a sexual perversion. That's not even true. Where does the Bible talk about women in heaven? As a matter of fact, where does the Bible talk about men in heaven? Quran doesn't do it. So where are these virgins coming from? This is why you have to be careful with anti-blackness. People who are in league with the Legion of Coons. They think white supremacist talking points. And they fight pro-black people tooth and nail. Like I said, listen, there's a few people who've been on this panel who was nice as I don't know what, but they were straight anti-black. If I point them out to you, your mouth would drop. But they've been on this panel. Two were guys and one was a female. And they were straight anti-black. But they were nice people, though. They were articulate. They had good manners. They were well-spoken or whatever. But they were anti-black. So you have to look at it this way. Things are getting worse as we go forward. I don't know if you guys been checking the airways lately, but shit is starting to hit the fan about people dying from this vaccine, dying from COVID. We got bus drivers, school teachers killing over. They started to shut down schools. The mask law is getting real heavy again. You know, so what's going to be important to you? Groupthink, anti-blackness, or pro-blackness? Because I'm going to tell you right now, in this pandemic, it's like it's getting ready to start all over again. Nobody is going to accept you in their neighborhood that is non-black. Every race is going to be out for itself. You have to understand that. So you have to be out for your race, right? Wrong. Because we have corny people, we have weak people that no matter what the situation is, they are going to side with white people because they are afraid. And these are the kind of people that you should never let in your inner circle. You should never let into a conversation when you're talking amongst pro-black people about building something, about getting something done. You should never be in earshot of these people. Because all they're going to do is put a damper on your parade, and they're going to infect you with anti-blackness. That's all they're going to do. So what have we learned so far? The separation of identification. The beginnings of a solution for black people. Start separating yourself from anti-blacks. Start learning what it is to be anti-black. Understand the people who are anti-black. Understand their mentality so you know who you're dealing with. Listen to the phrases that they use over and over again. Listen to the tactics that they use. All of their tactics are divide and conquer tactics. Every last one of them. People who are non-pro-black, against blacks, everything that they do is anti-black, anti. I'm sorry. It's yeah, I just had to tip my tongue. I hate when I do that. But anyway, it'll come back to me. But these distractors, what is a distractor? A person that takes you away from your main goal. A person that steals your focus and put it on them. And these people can be from different levels in black society. Okay? They can be from different levels in black society. But we have got to stop listening to crazy ass black people and allowing crazy ass black people to distract us from being pro black. What is pro black? Pro black is putting up that facility in Events W's neighborhood. That's being pro black. Pro black is getting the job done. That was cool. You want to wear a Bobby Seale jacket and throw your hand up in the air in the fist. That's cool. But make sure you have substance behind it. Because being pro black is about substance. It's the real deal, people. If it's not pro blackness, it is anti blackness. Because that's the only thing that's going to come from the result of it being anti black, right? Be pro black. What have we learned? That in order to get something achieved, you must be unified in your thoughts. People who are fighting with you about a difference of opinion and they have a right to be heard isn't a person that's looking to be unified with the thoughts of others. So what do you do with that person? Tell that person to take a hike. Yeah, you can't be afraid to do things like that. Other races have no problem telling people who are distracting from what they're trying to accomplish to take a damn hike. They have no problem with that. Why do black people do? Black people don't want to tell anybody to take a hike. Black people want to let anti-black people screw up their achievements, screw up their unified thinking, which is what you need to accomplish something. I don't care if it's two people. As long as you're unified in your thoughts, you're going to accomplish what you set out to accomplish. Oh, wait a minute. Dame. One second, y'all. Dame. Oh. Okay. Y'all, give me a second. I got to go out and come back in. I'm frozen. All right. I'll be right back. When I end the show, I'll be right back.
All right, everybody. A little technical difficulties. Okay, so yeah, a lot of pro blacks are not pro black. Uh-huh. Briggs, Kyrus. Okay, so let's see what was going on here. Okay, oh, okay, Briggs. Yeah. so that yeah, some people don't they get so caught up with what they mad about or what
Okay, I'm back.
they believe.
Thank you. I'm back. Yeah, so like, and so like I was saying, right, people, in order for you to build something as black people, right, you have to be unified in your thoughts. That is the only way you're going to get something done. And you have to identify distractors, people who tell you phony knowledge in order to gain your attention, to keep you from being unified in your thoughts. Like I said, the Empire State Building did not go up because people weren't unified in their thoughts. That was a unified collective effort because that's the only way things get done. You can't have people with their difference of opinion and talking about they want to stand on their own square. You get rid of those people. If you want to accomplish something, then you're going to have to grow up and run with the big boys because the big boys do not allow distractors to stop what they are trying to do. We have to be mature enough and strong enough to tell distractors to go take a hike. So if you're going to accomplish something, you have to be unified in your thoughts to get it accomplished. If you are bickering amongst each other, if somebody done sowed the seed of division amongst you, you're never going to get anything done. Because like I told you, remember what I said to you? If you only come away with one thing after this podcast, I'm cool with that. If that one thing is this, today a lot of people, especially black people, are mentally and emotionally fragile. And that's not harsh. That's a reality. A lot of the black people today aren't made out of that rough and tumble stuff. They're not built like that. They don't have that kind of grit and that kind of toughness. So when you have a project that you're trying to get done and you have such people on your team, you must keep the distractors away from your team because they can come in and run amok on your team. And then not only do you have a problem with them, but you'll be facing a mutiny amongst your own people, effectively destroying any kind of movement. And you can tell when a person is anti-black and don't want to have nothing to do with black people. Most seriously anti-black people, right, say some of the craziest things about black people and say some of the most what they call some intellectually profound things. These are some of your biggest anti-black people, like a brother Polite. He's super anti-black. Sonetta, super anti. The whole conscious community is super anti-black. The man is queer, super anti-black. All of those factions are super anti-black. 5% Nation. Even some of the NOI now starting to become anti-black because they're talking crazy. I believe that's why some of them are being ousted now because they're talking crazy. You know, so what have we learned about distractors? They don't have to be overly aggressive anymore. They can be very subtle. They can also be these conscious community guys or these dudes running around here in turbans, right? Symbolic turbans from the Middle East, talking about you need to be that. We have, as black people, have to reach a higher state of consciousness. What does that even mean? When you tell black people or group of black people, listen, we got to reach a higher state of consciousness. Okay, how do we do that? When you ask that person that question, how do we do that? They never have an answer. They just move on to something else. So you can't have a high state of consciousness if you don't know how to achieve a higher state of consciousness. So telling someone who don't know how to achieve a higher state of consciousness that they should reach a higher state of consciousness, it's like the blind leading the blind, right? And this is how you can tell that these people are distractors. Let's go back to the guy I told you, the 5% that I met years ago, who told me how much the earth weighed. And we was having a conversation at the time about starting an auto mechanic shop. He comes in with his distraction. Do you brothers know how much the earth weighs? What? Now you're talking about something so ridiculously profound, right? That you have to stop doing what you're doing, which is achievement number one of an anti-black people, to get you to stop talking about what you're talking about, or to get you to stop doing what you are heavily engaged in, right? And tell you some crazy shit like, the earth weighs 2 quintillion with a body of water on it. Or better yet, give you a story about a guy named Yakub who had 3 brains, who grafted white people from black people. Oh man, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to do a thing on Yakub, hopefully before Christmas or right around Christmas. We're going to find out. We're going to get to know Mr. Yakub. Because according to the 5%ers, Yakub came out of this thing called the essence. Now, I know many 5%ers. One more ridiculous than the rest. One more ridiculous than the other. Many of them believe that Yakub came out of what is called the essence. He came out of the essence and he saw that black man was God. So he decided to create the white man to give the black man who's God challenges. So I don't understand. How do you come out of the essence, see that the black man is God, then create a man that's not a God to give God challenges? We're gonna have fun with the story of Yakub. Okay, that's coming. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna really enjoy myself with the story of Yakub. We're gonna make some fools out of these 5%ers, all these fake ass knowledge dudes who keep fucking coming at you with this ridiculous ass fake knowledge that don't do shit for black people. Scared to death to tell you about any real fucking solutions that go down today. You see, they don't have no solutions for what's going on right now. Okay, they don't. That's why they stuck in the past. That's why they always telling you about some shit that happened in Egypt. Like, I think I was arguing with the young boy Kendall the other day, trying to get him to understand that the goddamn Sphinx are females. But you see, you can't talk to a person who's hell-bent on believing fantasies, because their heroes are attached to these fantasies. See, when you've never learned anything on your own and people teach you, oh, wait a minute. I think Kendall, what, you old, right? You 40 years old? Okay. Well, we have to call out certain people, right? You see, here's the problem with black people. A lot of us don't know what strength is because many of us don't have it. That's why so many of us run around here talking about are afraid to be disrespected. They are more afraid to be disrespected than actually taking a punch in the face. Okay? Hold on one second, people. They are more afraid of being disrespected. As soon as you listen, and it never failed. As soon as somebody come up on the panel, as soon as somebody says something, yo man, don't be disrespectful. See, this is a false sense of pride. See, when you're powerless and you don't control anything, you look for other things to latch on to that give you some kind of solidarity or peace of mind, right? When your manhood has been kicked out of your back by another man that you are afraid of and just simply won't fight, you need to go find your manhood somewhere else. You need to find something that makes you feel like a man. And so a lot of black folks, especially males, have a false sense of ownership, a false sense of pride, and believe that they've done something when they've done absolutely nothing. And they're always talking about other black people who achieved things so many years ago, but never tell you about any black people today achieving anything because they don't want to get involved. Because if you talk about black people today, then that means you'll be talking about them. That means you bring them under scrutiny as well. And they can't take it. They don't want to be disrespected. You understand? They can't take it. They can't take being told that they're failures. This is why they always reach back in history for the black people who come out of the glory days, who built the pyramids. We built the pyramids and all this other stuff. We didn't do shit. Okay? A lot of these guys don't have any fundamental understanding of information. They don't have any fundamental understanding of common sense. They know nothing of bloodlines. You see, if you understood how bloodlines work, you would never say we built the pyramids. When you say we black people built the pyramids, that just tells me that you don't understand bloodlines. You don't understand kindred. You don't understand any of that stuff. You're just saying it as a symbolic gesture to distract other black people from doing what they need to do. And simply because you have given up and you have conformed, the way they hide their guilt is to shame you from not conforming. You know, so we have a long way to go. Hold on one second, y'all. We have a long way to go as black people. So, in closing, I'd like to say, understand what I said. Play this podcast back. Pick out the things I talked about distractors. Listen to the things I talked about anti-blackness. Learn how to identify anti-black people and separate yourselves from them. A complete separation. No talking, no shaking hands, no sharing anything, no nothing. A complete separation. Identify yourself as a natural pro-black and separate yourselves from those you identify as anti-black. A black distractor is also anti-black. Do not be afraid to be black. Do not be afraid to protect blackness. Start telling anti-black people to take a hike. With that being said, I am not at the end of my rant. As always, I bring in my partner in crime, the Lady Knight. How you doing today?
All right, and you?
I'm good. Jane was on a journey, y'all, of health. She is now
Mhm.
taking God's medicine,
Mhm.
powerful herbs, and we're very happy for her.
Mhm.
We're going to be giving our health show. We're getting ready to turn Team Black Star to a very, very powerful show that's going to help Black people. We're going to have master herbalists on there,
Mhm.
dietitians, hardcore information. We're hoping they don't get the channel struck. We're going to try to keep certain things off of there that won't get the channel struck.
Mhm.
What's going to have to happen is we'll give out most of the information in the herbs and what they do to the body and what diseases that they heal. But some of the more potent stuff, you might have to come to Discord so we can have a one-on-one with you, okay, off of YouTube, okay? Because if we say too much, you know, they'll knock the channel offline because they don't want anybody to get healed in this country. Okay, pain and suffering is big money, like slavery. It's a big business. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems to still be a big business. Slavery is still going on in the Middle East. That's why black
Kia
people.
Grace, our people did not build any pyramids. Okay, there may have been black people who built those pyramids, but those black people aren't our people. We have no kindred to those black people. We have no ties or no bloodlines to those black people.
Mhm.
We have to understand, right? Even though we're all Negroes, there are
Mhm.
different types of Negroes. All Negroes are not related. Just because they are a Negro doesn't mean that they are your people. They are just another Negro.
Mhm.
When you go to Iceland, right?
Uh huh.
The Iceland people can't stand the white people over here in America.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish people. There's a lot of Irish people that don't like the white people in this America. When you look at the whole body of Caucasians, right? Not all of the Caucasians like white people.
Hmm.
They don't.
Okay.
And not all Caucasians are going to come to the aid of these Caucasians over here because there's no kindred. They don't feel no kindred to them.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have a lot of Negroes on this planet, but we are not all related. The problem, the reason why we think that is because we have a lot of misguided information and teachers who teach us the wrong. The first thing that come out of your mouth is brother. Everybody is a brother. Everybody is a sister. No, everybody isn't a brother or a sister. What if you went to Africa, right? And they accused you of being a coon? You know what they do in some parts of Africa, the coons? They give you what is called a necklace. You know what a necklace is? It's when they put a rubber tire over your head and your arms and fill it with combustible, some type of petrol fluid, and set it on fire. And while you're running around burning to death, talking about some brother, why you doing this to me? They don't see
Mhm.
you as no brother, because if they did, they would have set your ass on fire.
Uh huh.
See, we have a lot of growing to do. We have a lot of maturity to achieve. Every black person is not related to us. We have no ties to those black Egyptians. You can't even trace our bloodlines back that far.
Mhm.
But no matter how much you explain this to certain people and how much you show them this, they're still going to believe what the Hoteps taught them. So you're wasting your time. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, yeah. There's
Drop
a
the
reason
gang,
why.
drop the gangster link.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Mm.
Link will be in the chat for anybody want to come up, talk about what was going down. Hopefully, and we got another show coming up, another volume where we're going to be talking about more solutions. This is the beginning of the solutions. We got more.
Excuse me. Fat fingers. All right. All right. Here we go. Mm. All right. All right. Here's the link, y'all. All right. So come up there if you got any questions. If you want to say something on the topic.
You know what? You know what? It's hard too, right? Because I noticed that my people have been brainwashed, and it's hard. They've been fed a lot of BS for a long time. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for them to see anything different. It's hard for them to even have confidence in anybody else black telling them the truth. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. I hate to say it, but many of us would rather be told a lie.
Mm.
I noticed that some brothers and sisters are comfortable with living a lie. They're comfortable with the lie that they told. Some brothers and sisters know that they've been lied to, but they've gotten so comfortable with that lie, they don't want it to change.
Hey, Briggs.
Hey,
What's up, Briggs?
hey, how you doing? What's going on, Max?
What's
So,
going on?
I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, where do you stand with the respecting of the history of our people? Because I mean, I feel kinship with black folks all over the world,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
we do that.
and that's not to say that that's not to say that every black person that you meet is going to be good. No one is all good anywhere, but
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
respect
we
the
should,
history of our people.
I don't know if you saw, like I put down in the chat, I was real cool with this German white boy in high school, right? Now this dude had never been to Germany a day in his life. Grandparents were, from Germany or whatever, but he could break down. I remember him explaining to me what a lederhosen was. I think that's them little pajamas or whatever that they wear, but like he was taught to respect his history even though he had never been to Germany a day in his life, and he always talked about how when he retired from, left the United States, he wanted to go live there. So, white people teach they teach their lineage to their people to respect it all over the world. I mean, I've been to, they have an Italian celebration down here in the town that I'm in or whatever. And then most of these dudes have never been to Italy a day in their life. But if you say anything about Italy or Italy, they'll be ready to stomp your head off collectively as a group. So,
well, I look at it this way, man. I used to be a brother that believed that all blacks were the same, right? Until I got to traveling.
Yeah.
And I learned that we're not all the same. And our people, I respect the history of our people as it traces back to places in Africa. Wherever our people appeared, I respect. But our people aren't all over the world. There are blacks all over the world, but our people aren't all over the world. And we don't have any kindred. We don't have any kindred to these black people. We only are connected to our people. As far as our bloodlines can go back, That's as far as we go. Our bloodlines as black people coming out of Western Africa or maybe Nigeria or whatever does not go back to Egypt. You cannot find a single black person in this country whose bloodlines goes back to Kemet. So that means that those people back then who built those pyramids, those wasn't our people. Our people came much, much later. So we cannot claim people that we have no kinship to. And that's where a lot of us have been mistaught, have been misled. And I'm going to tell you something, man. Traveling the world, you can't go everywhere and call somebody a brother. In some of these places, calling somebody a brother would get you killed. I'm talking about in black countries. Okay? So you have to be careful. What happened to Brick? You phone?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second.
All right. Briggs, wait, hold on a second. You got your camera on, Briggs.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. You're in the dark, so we can't see you, but I could see. I saw something glowing there. That's better.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now, what you was gonna say?
Yeah, so let me finish up real quick, Briggs, and then you can take it. So, our people, our history of our people, it's not all over the world. We've been mistaught, we've been misguided by a lot of people who exploited us. They exploited the knowledge of our people. Our bloodlines do not go back that far. A lot of these people are no kin to us. They don't recognize us. They don't claim us. They don't love us. They don't respect us because we're not them. We're not a part of them. And we have a problem with thinking that everybody black is our lineage or our history. No, they're not. The Egyptians don't have anything to do with our history. People in Kemet don't have anything to do with our history. The Mayans don't have anything to do with our history. Just because the Mayans were Negroes, that don't mean that they were kin to us. We didn't come much. Our bloodline didn't appear until thousands and thousands and thousands of years later. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the problem I have with us. You see, other races of people, right, don't have a problem understanding this. Like, for example, all Asians, right, don't claim all Asians. Like people from the Ming Dynasty don't claim anybody from the Han Dynasty because they're not kindred. Just because they're Chinese don't mean that they're kindred. Black people believe everybody black is black, and it's not. We are not kin to every black person on this planet. Our people did not build any pyramids. Black people built pyramids, but they wasn't our black people. Okay.
Well, what's our black people?
Our black people, the bloodline that comes out. From what I understand, our bloodlines come out of Western Africa, mostly Western Africa. Some Nigeria. That's what I understand. Where we come from, Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, Western Africa. That's where we, from what I understand, that's where we come from.
Right.
Okay. And that was thousands and thousands and thousands of years after the pyramids were already built.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of lost on that one, man. I mean, I understand that, we have, like we've always had, tribal differences, but we're all collectively black people.
right.
That's not to say that
we're all, right, but we're not all kin though.
Well, we're not all. I mean, not all kin in terms of DNA lines or whatever, but we are all kin as a people. I mean, like with
Uh,
Asians, okay, like with Asians. I mean, yeah, you have Chinese, Vietnamese, they're all Asian, but collectively, if someone attacks their people, you know what I'm saying, they're all gonna get together and make sure that doesn't happen.
okay,
Now
well
they
here's the
might
thing,
have
right?
their, they'll have their little tribal discussions and family fights behind closed doors or whatever, but you blow down on them or whatever, and they all collectively understand that an attack on one Asian is an attack on all Asians. They
Well,
understand that if they're not just going, if we decide to all shit on the Vietnamese, they understand that it's not just going to stop with the Vietnamese. It'll go from the Koreans and vice versa. So they're not going to let that happen.
I don't know about that. I've never seen that mentality amongst them.
Oh, I have.
Because the Chinese people I know, they only care about themselves.
Oh yeah, like
And
I
the
said, they
Korean
have.
and the Koreans I know, they only care about Koreans.
Yeah, they have their tribal issues,
Like
but
like like, do you know Koreans hate Japanese people, and Japanese
hmm
people hate Koreans, and that Japanese are always killing Koreans?
hmm yeah,
There used to be some kind of thing that went back, right? You know, I learned this when I was in Japan.
hmm
That the Japanese used to go to Korea and kill Koreans whenever something happened. I forgot what it was called. I think a fish or something, some kind of earthquake or whatever, some kind of thing that would happen to Japan, and
hmm
then they would go and kill Koreans because they think the Koreans were at fault. You
oh
know.
yeah,
And then here's another thing, right? Proof is in the pudding, right? If we were one people, we will all be unified. The closest thing I've seen to a people being 100% absolutely unified with no problem, with no interruptions or anything like that, with the Persians. They were
yeah,
unified. They had one of the biggest, one of the most massive armies on earth. They were unified. Everybody was a Persian, whether they were kin or not. What took place was the ideology of being a Persian, right? That
well
was the
yeah,
only people I've ever seen that was unified to that level.
well
I haven't seen nobody else unified like that.
well they were unified under the idea of building an empire, and I mean Romans did that.
Uh-huh.
There are all kinds of examples of people all over the world that have done that.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, in terms of and they weren't necessarily all unified. I mean, they like what you were talking about earlier. A lot of them, a lot of empires are built by you lay down to get down. If you
Right.
don't get down, then you lay down. So that
Right.
it's not like the
Right.
Persians achieved this by being nice and loving to each other. There was a lot of
Yeah.
throat slitting, backstabbing, and a lot of a lot of
Right.
people got killed to solidify power.
Yeah, but
That's what
that's how
happens
you
with yeah.
right, but that's how you get stuff. That's how you achieve things, though.
Oh
I'm
no,
not saying you're supposed to right. I'm not saying you're supposed
yeah.
to kill people, right? But you can't achieve things when you have people arguing about differences of opinion. That's not how you get things done.
Oh no,
You have to have a unified thought. Everybody got to be
oh
unified in their thought,
no, I agree. I'll
right?
do
And
you
so
one. I mean,
you
I'll do
got
you one better. I believe that certain people do need to, I don't want to say what you just said because I don't want to get your channel struck, but I believe that certain people do need to be permanently separated from the group.
I got you.
I used to. I believe that you need that. I believe you need enforcers. I used to. I I used to belong to an organization that we had enforcers.
Hmm.
Enforcers to toe the line, and we had a standard of doing things and the way you were supposed to do it. And if you were with us, then that's what you did. And if you needed some correction sometimes, then the enforcers would come over and enforce
Hmm.
they would enforce the rules. So and if you violate the rules, or you turn against your people, or you do something you ain't supposed to be doing, then you suffer the consequences of that. So wow, I'm in total
Well, that's
agreement
the
with
way.
that. I mean, that's with everyone. That's why militaries have if they have treason. If you commit an act of treason, you can get killed or whatever. So I understand that, and I agree with that totally.
I
You know.
think, you know what, believe it or not, though, you might think I'm crazy for saying what I'm about to say, but I think that's one of the reasons why we're in the situation that we're in because we won't do anything like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's what we need to do.
Oh yeah. If it's
You know,
one, I have a former history out in the street. I'm not proud of it or promoting it or anything, but one thing I will say is that we had a set of rules.
uh-huh.
We had a set of rules anywhere we went. And those rules governed how you act, and that's why wherever we went, that was a collective understanding. As one of my homeboys used to say, you fuck with one spook, and you're gonna get the whole haunted house. That was the understanding. So yeah, we definitely need to organize under those lines because that's what everybody else does.
Hmm.
People always think that you can get something done by you're not. You need to be organized. You need to have rules. You need to have an ethos. You also need to be ready to, you know, water the damn grass with somebody's blood if you need to.
Hmm.
All these people running around, like I said, having these debates on air about, religion and all kinds of other shit. But, at the end of the day, you need to take some kind of direct action.
That's right.
The group that I used to run
Absolutely.
with, the group that I ran with, we didn't have a problem with direct action. That's
Right.
and anybody that, if you, in order to join the group, you had to have that understanding. Anybody that wasn't willing to, get down when it was time, then, there wasn't no use for you.
I
There's a
know
time for
exactly.
talking, and then there's a time for, okay, it's time to go send a message and do something. So
But you see, that's where I come from. I come out of the '70s, right? That's the way
mhm,
black people were back then.
mhm.
Black people were willing to go upside somebody's head. Black people were willing to go take it to white people. See, I grew up around black people that wasn't afraid of white people.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying? That's why you have this whole contingent now of black people who are scared to death and this sellout. Everybody's selling out. Kevin Samuels that made it popular to sell out. They don't brought into white supremacy. You got a lot of young brothers right now who are selling out. They don't want to have nothing to do with blackness. This is why I'm trying to tell everybody it's not the blackness you have a problem with. You have to dig inside and you have to fix the person inside because it's the person inside that's making you be anti-black because you're either a coward, or you have no real allegiance. You don't know where your allegiance lie. You don't know yourself. Like Kendall talk about knowledge of self, right?
Hmm.
Knowledge of self comes out of your household.
Right.
You're supposed to get that knowledge from your parents. A lot of these young brothers don't have any knowledge of self on that
Well,
level. They don't know who they are.
right. There's different. I think what Kindle means is different. Both of you guys are right. There's different levels of knowledge of self. You get knowledge of self with family. You get knowledge of self of your people and their history. You get knowledge of self of your particular tribe or whatever you want to call it, and then the collectiveness of your people.
Right.
And I think black people haven't been afforded all of the knowledge of self. We haven't even been afforded all the knowledge of our true history on this planet. So I get
Mhm.
why a lot of black people seek that out, and it seems like we read too many books and we want to talk about that stuff, but you got to realize too, like we're late to the game with that. Like these white folks,
Right.
these Indians and all these other people, no one came and stripped them of, their identity and culture and language and all that shit.
Mhm.
That's why they're so arrogant. That's why they walk around with a certain degree of confidence. Because like you said, when you know your family tree, whether it's your individual local family that's in your house, the family, your people in your city, your state, your country, and in the world, you walk around with a certain swagger. You know, I know that because I was taught the history of our people early. So you couldn't tell me shit. I remember in the fifth grade getting kicked out of the history class because my teacher talked about how they discovered America in 1492. And I was like, yeah, no, you discovered it for white people. There were already Indians and shit and people here. And I remember telling my teacher, that's y'all problem. You go places and you change people's history. And he was like,
Oh
yeah,
boy,
Mr. Griggs. He was like, Mr. Griggs, get the hell out of my
I
class.
was about you didn't get expelled.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was labeled a troublemaker, but I didn't, it's like I
I
organized all the
bet you
black
were.
kids there. Yeah,
Mhm.
I organized all the black kids there and we were, They get picked on and shit. And I was like, listen, fuck all this talking. You know what I'm saying? The next time they come over here, we're gonna stomp their damn heads. That's the only way they're gonna start to learn to respect us. You know, once you stomp somebody's head, it's a whole lot easier to, negotiate with people and talk civilly with people when they know that, there's a gun on the table. That's one of the things my dad always told me. When you negotiate with a gun on the table. Negotiate with an air or threat of violence if necessary. Don't be a violent man. Don't just walk around and hurt people for the sake of hurting people. But my father's one of his real big sayings is you don't own what you can't defend. It's not truly yours.
That's right.
He would always pound that into my head, like what you can't protect is not truly yours. So
that's right. If you can't protect it, it's not yours.
Right. So he was like, I'm not saying be a violent man, but if I'm not saying violence is the answer, but he was like, sometimes violence is the only answer.
I mean, right now, violence, it might have to be the answer. Everybody else seems to be using violence against us as an answer.
Well, they have, again, when you study the history, like what Kendall was saying, the knowledge of history. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I kind of snapped out on him because I was like, he was like, violence is not the answer and blah, blah. I was like, well, it is sometimes. And I was like, what are you talking about with all this kumbaya shit? I was like, our entire history here has been violent towards us. Like no black person should have any difficult time, questioning that. Our entire existence here has been violence. Focused violence. There's nothing that hasn't been done to black people. Nothing. So, you can't think of one horrible, messed up thing that hasn't been done to us. So anybody that doesn't, what are we afraid of?
Exactly.
I think that I don't necessarily think. I think there's some fear there, but I think a lot of it is we've taught our the Pookie and Ray Ray argument. Now, I'll just go ahead and put out there. I consider myself a reformed Pookie Ray Ray. I wasn't running around doing her, but I was a little bit of a knucklehead for a while. I was a little knuckle dragger. But my thing is, we're going through that phase, the respectability shit. Pull your pants up and don't do this and don't do that. Now I get certain aspects of that. Yes, you shouldn't, present yourself in a certain manner and this, that, and other. But we've taught black men that they need to, if you put on a suit and you use a whole bunch of really big words and you can intellectualize your way into into being equal. And it's like, no, these white dudes do that now, but understand that, they'll do the intellectual thing on one hand, but they'll also fuck around and, slit your throat. Like they didn't have a problem with raping our women, feeding our children to alligators and us. That wasn't very, intellectual. That was just straight out brutality. So I think that, we've been bred to over intellectualize shit, and that's fine. There's a time and a place for intellectualism, but there's also a time and a place of, I try to be a respectful person. I try to display some intelligence, but I'm also very, very comfortable with my fucking inner caveman.
Yeah.
So I don't mind, I'll have a conversation. When I was in the reform camp for boys, we'll say. We have I had conversations with a dude, white dude or whatever, little Aryan dude, and we were cool because we were in when you in there, what I'm saying, you basically in there on top of your enemies. He was cool, right. We were cool and had a conversation, but at any given moment he understood that if it went down or whatever, I would razor his fucking face off and wouldn't have a problem with it.
Right.
So, I don't have a problem being around people and, letting them know, we can be cool, we can be cordial, and we can be having a conversation, but make no mistake, if it comes down to some of my people versus yours, I'll kill you and walk over you to get out of here. You'll never be that cool. And I think black people need to learn to be, like that again. Like we need to,
Yeah, if we had more brothers like this, we can get something done.
I think we will.
We don't have enough brothers like you. We don't have enough brothers with this mentality. Uh-oh. We got to somehow make them. We got to somehow find them. We just got too many brothers with the wrong kind of mentality. Too many brothers who are weak. We can't get nothing done like that.
Well, I think they need to, and I think they're getting a dose of it. See, we've been lulled to sleep for the last couple of generations that believe that it's everything is all hunky dory. I think we need to get a, the reason why something happened in the '60s and '50s is because they got that was a head of brutal violence right in your face. I think we're starting to return to that point. I think black people are starting to understand that all this intellectual shit is not really working. There's gonna have to come a time when you're gonna have to be willing to lay down and get down. It's not
right? And then being over intellectual, you're already behind because they've been doing it way before you because they've conquered, right? So
yeah,
they've
absolutely.
already had hundreds of years ahead of you of
Hmm.
being, intellectual, and plus they're productive. When you don't
Hmm.
have any power, you're non-productive. Over intellectual lies and things just doesn't do anything for you.
No,
It,
no,
it,
no.
it doesn't advance you one bit. You still don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out.
Mm-mm. No. Well, and
That's
that's
what I mean by
well, and it's, again, that's because we've been taught. Even with these churches, we've all been slap let them slap both cheeks and always forgive your enemies and all that shit. We've been taught too much of that shit. And it needs
yeah,
to.
but
I think.
how?
I mean, I'm gonna say this is gonna sound crazy, and I hope people don't look at me differently, whatever. But like, you need to get comfortable with a certain level of violence. Because I'm sorry, it takes that to live in the world.
It does.
It just does. You
Uh,
just need to be. I'm not saying you need to embrace violence and become some kind of walking psychopath, but there's nothing. It's like Malcolm said. There's nothing. It's intelligent for you to defend yourself against violence and meet them with a greater threat of the violence that they intend for you.
that's
There's
right.
nothing wrong with that.
But you got
When
black
white people
people,
say that, oh, they're patriots.
right? But you
Yeah,
got black
you
people
know,
who will rail against that and will teach against that and will say that you're wrong. Violence isn't the answer. You should never. You got fools out here now talking about you can't have anger.
oh yeah. See,
Mm.
that's ridiculousness. Because I don't, that was another thing.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah,
father
yeah.
told
You
me
know what?
about
You
right.
got this fool, Jesse Lee Peterson, telling us something. If you have anger, you are your father, the devil. So you can't never get
Oh,
mad about
hello.
nothing. Yeah. Briggs, you
Oh
there?
no, what happened? Oh, okay, there you are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, according to Jesse Lee Peterson, if you are angry about anything, you are of your father, the devil. So, according to him, you can't get angry about anything. You can never express any anger.
Oh yeah. Well, he's an idiot, and anybody that believes, see, that's that pseudo science bullshit. Like you're, first of all, if you weren't supposed to have anger, then you wouldn't, you wouldn't have been built into your DNA. Like
Right,
my
right.
dad always taught me about righteous anger. My dad was like, there are
That's
times
right.
in life
Righteous
when you
anger.
should be angry, and the anger is
That's
righteous.
right. That's
So
right. Righteous
don't ever
anger.
let anyone tell you that you right. And my dad was like, if you ever let anybody convince you to not have righteous anger, that is the beginning of them walking all over you.
That's right.
So whenever somebody says that, I'll smile and listen or whatever, but in my head, I'll be like, oh, okay, you one of them. Yeah, I'm gonna let you keep on talking or whatever, but you keep that shit to yourself because I don't believe in all that docile shit. I believe in righteous anger. I believe certain people need, to be dealt with. I believe that if someone comes to you with bad intentions, you should meet them with equally bad intentions.
You have
As
to.
long as it's righteous.
You
Yeah.
have
Oh,
to.
absolutely.
You have to,
Mhm.
or you may not survive, depending on what their bad intentions are. You
Absolutely.
know.
Well, like yeah, I was telling somebody the other day. I was like, you see what the motherfuckers did? What was that on the 5th? That big they call it a what do they call it a damn insurrection. I was like, they were ready to go up. They were bringing, I mean, they bombs out there. They were building a damn hangman's gallows. They had guns.
Where at?
They were ready to. The on the 5th
When they
after
they they charged the capital, the
yeah,
Oh yeah,
congress.
yeah.
when they charged
Mhm.
yeah, charged the Capitol building. I mean, they were ready to get it on. You know what I'm saying? They were ready to, they were ready to kill people.
And
Oh
they
yeah.
tried to paint that
So,
cop out. They tried
and
to
that
paint
was,
that cop out as a terrorist.
What?
I mean,
oh,
Tucker
yeah, I love what
Carlson.
he did. I was telling somebody,
Yeah,
go
yeah, but
ahead.
Tucker Carlson called that man a terrorist.
Well, right, because and I was glad that I'm loving the fact that it's going down like that. Well, the reason why is because they don't want black people to see themselves as takers of direct action like he did. I applaud him because when I saw that, I was like, why aren't they opening fire? Like,
Mhm.
there in no way in hell that should have even allowed to get that far. There should have been way more dead people than just that one person. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm not trying to sound like a psychopath or anything, but you came with bad intentions. You built a hangman's gallows outside. You were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." You weren't breaking in there so you could, hold hands and talk to your representatives in a calm, intellectual way. So I don't understand why they didn't open fire on those people. But see, that's as far as that collective thing, those are other white people out there, majority. So
Mhm.
they were very, they were willing to give them all kind of chances. Now, had that been us, it would have been a killing field out there,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and they would
Yeah,
never let us
they
forget
would
about
have
it.
had the
But
full
we need,
brunt of the
Well, first of
police,
all,
the Capitol Police, and the
first of
National
all, we
Guards
wouldn't
out
have
there.
made it. First of all, we wouldn't have made it that far.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We
So
wouldn't have
no,
made it to
no
the
way in
cap.
hell. Like if
No.
no, no. But see, there was they didn't like that the brother did that because he had that understanding. Like, listen, if you're obviously coming in here with bad intentions. If you think that I'm going to stand here and allow you to break into this building and kill me, the people that I've been tasked to protect or whatever, that's not gonna happen. Let me go ahead and let you understand. Let me give you an understanding of how it's gonna go down, and that's what black folks need to do. Like he
You know
had
what?
righteous anger. He wasn't a psychopath.
Mhm.
How
What's that? Go ahead.
how how gully is that, right? You stormed the Capitol.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
again, when you've been taught your history, white people they're proud of their history in this country. They're proud of their ancestral history of the people that came here before them. Like, they don't. A lot
Yeah,
of white
and
people
then,
in the South, these rednecks or whatever, they're descendants of English people now. They don't sound no ways like the English. They don't have no connection to the English. They actually tease the English people about the independence. But make no mistake, they're incorporating that proud part of their history in there, and that's why that's why they felt confident to do that shit.
yeah,
They're like,
and
they really feel like this is our country, our people. We established all these values here, so we have the right to storm that Capitol, and that's what we need to do, and that's what I say about us being proud of our history. And I know we're not all from one big tribe. We come from a bunch of different individual tribes and stuff, but collectively we're all black people. I feel kin in that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Well,
black
you'll know
somewhere in
who.
the world, and
Well, you'll know who's
go
kin
ahead.
to you. You'll know who kin to you when you decide to do a large undertaking. You'll see who follow you
Hmm.
because
Oh yeah,
your people will follow you. So
right,
far, everything that
right,
we've done, we've been on our own.
yeah. Well,
mhm.
There has
I
been
mean,
no. Mm,
I think there are brothers and sisters around the world that have,
Mhm.
that collectively would help us or whatever. But that's another thing. They have, they've successfully spread a lot of discord amongst us.
Mhm.
yeah, I know
'Cause, they're
Jamaicans.
like, I've been around some white supremacists or whatever, and one of their little chants was "World White Pride Worldwide."
Mhm.
That that's how they, and that's how they really feel. Like, the white boy, they
Now,
might not get along, but when it, what's that?
I've been around some Jamaicans, and Jamaicans will roll with us. You know, if they in the hood with you, they'll get down with you. They'll roll with you. But I've never seen the Africans, come with us. And there's Africans all in America, right? I've never seen the Africans
Yeah.
come to the hood. I've never seen it.
Well, see, that's why I say it's an individual thing, and they sow discord. Like, I grew up with a bunch of Nigerian cats. They was out
Mhm.
there with us. I grew up with some. They had some Nigerian cats, some Kenyan cats. Definitely have some Jamaicans, but
Wait a minute,
we might have teased
Nigerians?
each. Yeah. The two
Wow.
two of the biggest dudes in the little group that I used to run with, man. One of the biggest enforcers of the little group I used to run with was a Nigerian cat. We used to tease that nigga, relentlessly about his organization, but he was with us. He wasn't no, It wasn't no separation or nothing.
Wow, that
It
was
was,
deep, man. That's deep. Nigerians,
yeah. But, I'm
black people.
out here in the Bay Area. It's still a little, but oh, hello.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, but now I've worked with some African people or whatever, some Nigerians, and yeah, they were, they treated me like they're, you know, like they should instinct. But now, it's like my Nigerian homeboy used to tell me. He was like, well, yeah, man. He was like, there's some of us that are, buy into the Kool-Aid, just like there are some black people here that buy into the Kool-Aid. But he was like,
Right.
we don't, you weed them out just like you weed anybody else out. He was like, the white people get rid of their race traders, and so do the Mexicans, and so do the Chinese.
Haitians do too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Blacks don't.
yeah, but yeah,
Blacks don't.
Well,
but
they
I think we
did
do.
a few
I think.
things.
I think. I think we embracing ours.
No, I think we tolerate
Well,
now.
Mm.
well, yeah, we tolerate that, and I think that that swings all throughout human history too. There's when things reach a point of excess, there's always been a period in history where those kind of people get purged or put back in line. It's like
Right.
like now that a lot of these white people are doing some of the shit they're doing because they feel some type of reckoning coming. They have a full understanding that by what is it 2035 that they're going to be the minority. Now you'll have a certain group of white people that won't have an issue with that. They'll be like, oh well, we had our time and this is what America is supposed to really be. And then there's going to be a large group of white people that are going to be like, yeah, no. So
Yeah.
there's gonna be a day of reckoning with them amongst their own.
But my thing is, okay,
So
once they become the minority, who will be the majority? Because it
Uh,
still won't be us.
the Hispanics.
no, yeah, it'll be Hispanics and Asians probably, and then behind us. But I think our numbers are larger than what they report.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they are.
And I know.
Yeah.
I think our numbers
not-
are.
We're
Yeah.
not still 13% of the population after all these damn decades. That's ridiculous.
No. No. Definitely not.
It had to been doing a huge amount of purging. But
I'm concerned with the new majority, though. What's their mentality towards it?
Well, I think I think that it'll be easier to I think it'll be easier to get along with certain other groups than it will be to some of these whites. But I mean, either way it goes, like I said, that's another thing I learned when I was, did my little time there is that we were, you basically piled on top of there with all your little enemies or whatever. So you learn, you learn the same, you learn enough game that it works. You could go to the UN. And it's the same thing because sometimes when you bind there or whatever, it's like a little mini UN. There's politics. Everybody ain't thumping all day long because that can't go down. So that's why everybody kind of has there's politics established and there are rules and there's a time for war and then there's a time for reconciliation and
mhm.
there's a time to understand that there's a collective thing going on that everybody needs to pay attention to and kind of adhere to. So. I don't care. I'm not worried about that. Like I said, as long as we carve our little spot out, I'm not worried about how we get along. We'll get along. It's like I said, fuck them. They can lay down and get down.
Yeah, but we're going to be ready to defend our position and build something finally for ourselves with this new majority coming in. It's going to be pretty much the same old, same old.
I believe it will be. I believe that everyone needs to relearn their lesson. People get lax, they get comfortable, they start to believe in the bullshit. So I believe that everybody needs to relearn their lesson. Black folks are we were relearning our lesson. This whole George Floyd thing was a great reckoning, and a lot of people, they talk. They talk a lot of that kumbaya stuff online, but they know at the end of the day when the stuff hits the fan. I was arguing with some swirler divester types, male and female, a couple of days ago, and I was like, okay, well, if you think that you're gonna fold over into that damn community or whatever, and they're gonna accept you and they're gonna let you thrive better than you would with your own kind, you're a fool.
Yeah.
You're being tolerated. So if you're okay with being tolerated, then okay, go over there. But understand that if things ever really get bad, they're gonna crap on you first. Like I was saying earlier about, Asians in there, and they don't all get along, but they understand that if someone were to say, oh well, you know what, we're gonna start banging on Vietnamese, that they're not gonna, the Koreans and the Chinese ain't gonna let that happen, because they understand it's not gonna stop with them. They're gonna,
yeah, they don't want gonna, yeah, they don't want any black person.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like I got Samoan and Tongan homeboys, and they have issue. I think the Samoans at one point ruled over the Tongans or whatever. So they have blood beefs. Now they basically the same people. They'll funk about that, but now if it comes to a situation where you start messing around with island boys, Samoans and Tongans, they all gonna come after you.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them used to be cannibals. That's the reason why the white man couldn't colonize that island.
Well, yeah. Well, they have a warrior class or warrior culture. They weren't taught all that. I mean, they're like I have Samoan homies. They're cool people. A lot of them, they go to church and stuff like that. But like I said, they're totally. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
you ask them, they black people.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kin. They used to. We had a couple of them that was, in our little group, and we had, we were in.
One of my best friends in the military, his name was Jack Fu, and he was Samoan. You couldn't tell him he wasn't a black man.
Oh yeah, they were in solidarity with us.
A lot of them identify as black people. They believe they black.
Yeah. They rock with us. I mean, early on, shoot, there was even a lot of, even though we had issues with a lot of the Mexicans from time to time, but there was a lot of SA cats that, when the shit hit the fan, they was like, hey, we here.
Oh man.
Just let us know. Let us know when it's time to push the go button.
Man, they so cool, man. They like, one thing I like about them, they really understand what it means to be a friend. They call themselves your friend. Yeah. Trust me, they got your back. They got your back, my brother. Like I said, you can't tell them, but man, you go over there, man, you see them brothers over there with afros. They got, you talking about afros, nigga. My nigga, they got afros to put us to shame, brother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. They like I said, they cool. They had their issues. I didn't know about. I invited them to a barbecue one time, and they tore the whole damn thing up or whatever. And I was like, man, what happened? And he was like, that's when he kind of broke down that whole Tongan and Samoan thing.
Yeah, I think
he was like, well, it's just.
I think one of them was cannibals, because the white people couldn't colonize that. Colonize. I can't get the word right now, but anyway, they used to send ships over there to try to conquer those people. The ships never came back because they were being captured. They were being eaten. Yeah, I think they were. One of them on that island was cannibals. I don't know if it was the Samoans or the Tongans. Well, they were cannibals.
Well, they have a faction within both groups that weren't above, cannibalizing people, but that was part of the psychological tactic for warfare for them.
Yeah.
If you kill your enemies and eat their ass or whatever, or hack them to death.
Yeah.
That has a powerful psychological effect on your enemies. That's what that's what gave them issue with the white people. That's why the white people were so afraid of them, because they were chopping their asses up, and then
you see the ships over there. The ships never came back.
Well, they did come.
And that answered the question of how far an armor can go without its stomach. Hey, your food is right there. You just gotta go get it.
They talking about they like food. They sent us food.
Right. Well, yeah, but that's what it was. They would kill him and chop him. Then they would let one. My homeboy was telling me they let one white person live after they, chopped him up and, showed him eating some of them. They let one of the motherfuckers live so he could go back and tell the rest of the white people, like, man, we need to leave these motherfuckers alone.
It'd be
That
like,
motherfucker, that motherfucker
I
came
bet
back
you the
bug
skinny
eyed.
dude. I bet you the skinny dude. You too skinny. You go back and fatten up and
That
send some more
motherfucker,
of your
that
people.
motherfucker came back. That motherfucker came back bug eyed and knock needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but see, right. That's what I'm talking
Oh
about. They
shit!
they they weren't separated from their culture, their language, and
Nope.
and their warrior class, and they
And
weren't
they
taught.
would
They're
never
taught to be respectful.
right. And they would never conquer, colonize, none of that. None of that.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. So
And
we
like I said, they're
just
really cool, man. I've never met one that was fucked up. Everyone I ever met was really cool. They got they got a really cool culture. But like I said, you can't tell
oh
them
yeah.
they're not black people. They swear up and down even yeah,
Well,
they small, but they call you a black man.
Well, in that part of that's just like in Australia, the Aborigines over there call themselves black also, which
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
That's because
Yeah,
they
man. You know
they
what?
have that understanding.
Yeah, I met a few of them when I was in Australia, man. I've never met them before. When I was over in Perth, I got a
Hmm.
chance to meet a few of them, man. Very, very cool people. Very strong handshakes too, man. They got some powerful
Yeah,
hands, bro.
yeah.
And I'm a big man. I'm
Well,
a big man, dude. Some of these short motherfuckers
hmm
shook my hand. They broke my
hmm
fingers and shit.
well,
What
because
the fuck, man?
they do the equivalent of what black folks used to do out in the South. Baling hay and working out on
Yeah.
the land and shit like that. They don't. They still out.
Strong little
They still out.
motherfuckers, man.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
still out there living off the land and doing real work. They not in there, not all of them. They not in there typing at no computer every day.
Nah, nah. Just speaking of
They
that,
out
man, you
there.
know what? I see, like I see the Amish a lot because I travel all over the country, with the truck. So,
Hmm.
sometimes I go to places where it's Amish and they on the fucking
Hmm.
interstate with them damn fucking horse and buggies and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I noticed about
Hmm.
them, man? They always nasty and dirty looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Always nasty, dirty. The kids be missing chromosomes and shit. I remember I
yeah,
had
they
to go
got.
pick up a load of furniture one time in Towanda, PA, which is
Hmm.
pretty much Amish country. And
Yeah.
you had dude had like this huge land, right?
Hmm.
Back a 53-foot trailer all the way down his driveway and into his backyard, which turned
Hmm.
into a huge goddamn plot of land with fucking these buildings on it where they built furniture and all that.
Hmm.
And dude's sons came out. They were all cross-eyed, mouth open, looking wild, crazy as hell, man. And I
Hmm.
was like, what the fuck? Like, they incest.
Yeah.
Incest. But yeah, but check this out. They all can build furniture though.
Oh, their whole culture is based on self-reliance. So I was I've had some crazy dealings with them too, and they're surprisingly ruthless. Also, don't let them little funny hats fool you.
Yo,
You know?
motherfuckers got corn cob pipes, huckleberry thin hats, motherfucking small ass fucking leather vests like fucking Wyatt Earp. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look at this
Yeah.
shit here, man. You
So
know,
you, so you saying the
huh?
Amish mafia is real?
Yeah, they real. You know
I
what? I
wouldn't
see.
necessarily
Check this
call them
out.
mafia, but
Yo, I see the
Mhm.
two buggies get into an accident out there in Towanda, and they had their own little buggy that was like an ambulance.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
That tripped me the fuck out. I was like, one of the Amish dudes was riding with his horse and buggy, and he was drunk.
Hmm.
And I don't know if he made a wrong
Hmm.
turn, but they kind of ran into each other. The horses got hurt and all that, and they called
Hmm.
little rescue van or whatever that was to be. Dude showed up with a white thing over
Yeah.
the fucking buggy with a red cross. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
I mean, it was the
Yeah.
craziest thing I ever seen, man. I'm like, seriously? Like,
Well,
wow.
yeah. Well, they police their people. They have their they're self-reliant. They have their own little community. They police their people and they provide so that they don't really have to have too many, dealings
And
with the
the women,
outside world. I mean, they'll do
dude,
business with you, but they'll, you know,
dude, the women
step
look like they
on
don't
and
take baths.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the women look
yeah,
dirty. Faces be dirty and shit. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Dirty, man. I was in
yeah.
Mississippi earlier today. A lot of dirty,
Hmm.
nasty white people out there, man. I mean, dirty. Kids dirty. The parents dirty. Just
Oh
dirty,
yeah,
filthy white people.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's that. That's that opioid.
Yeah.
That's it. They getting it like they're getting it like when they were, laughing at us when the crack epidemic hit.
Yo, them kids be fucked up, man. And you know what? They ought to be ashamed what they doing to those kids, man. You know, all that
Oh yeah.
incest, man. Them kids do. Them kids be toe up, man. I mean, I'm talking about mouths be wide open. They can't even close their mouth. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because they got all these deformities, mouth wide open, two rows
Hmm.
of teeth up top, three teeth at the bottom, all cross-eyed. The fucking eyes look crazy, beady and cross-eyed and shit. One ear bigger than the other. They be looking, man, them kids be looking done, bro.
Hmm.
Like, what are
Yeah.
y'all doing to these kids?
Yeah. Well, I would imagine it's not probably hard for them to, there's not a lot of people actually wanting to go join the Amish.
Well,
So I would.
yeah, well, they got their own thing going on, man. They got. I wouldn't eat out of their restaurants. I wouldn't eat anything out of their restaurant.
Oh yeah, no. Mm-mm.
You know. I mean, I wouldn't mind buying some furniture. They really good at that furniture. They make the furniture I picked up, man, was expensive too. I'm talking about rich people be buying furniture from them.
Well, yeah,
They shit.
they're craftsmen.
Uh,
They're
uh,
keepers of they're craftsmen. They still believe in the art of craft and building stuff by hand and stuff. Yeah, they that's their claim to fame. I know the one I
yeah,
knew, he made some real good furniture. I mean, pretty much anything with wood he could make. He could build a house. He could make you a table. He could.
dude, they got blacksmiths and shit.
Hmm.
Blacksmiths.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, God, oh, man, they really doing the old school stuff.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
uh,
and that's smart. I think people. That was another big. My father was big on that. He was like, people need to. You need to keep some of the old school crafts around because he was like, it breeds you a certain, gives you a certain amount of independence, and then if the shit ever hits the fan, we get stuff goes back to the Stone Age for a minute, people that have these kind of skills are going to be necessary. So like that's what I always chip off like with the Amish. Like if if the crap hit the fan tomorrow, whatever, they'd be fine because they live like that anyway. I'm not saying that we should all get rid of our stuff and go live in bars or nothing, but it would do you well to learn how to grow a garden or how to sew, how to woodwork. We used to be, pretty good at that too. I think that's something else we need to bring back as a community. Ooh, uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you, Briggs.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, but
Oh
we need
yeah,
to.
yeah. I always had, the feeling, cause bring all that back, learn all that stuff, you know, keep a hold of that, uh, you know, um, yeah, like the crocheting and the knitting, and oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
used to be fascinated by that, trying to find out, Okay, if I want to make my own yarn, my own material, how to use a loom and stuff like that, carpentry, all that.
Hmm.
And at one
Yeah.
point we did know how to do that,
Yeah.
but trying to get away from that slavery life, we run away. And sometimes we did keep a hold of it. Like my grandfather, he hated farming. He hated farming because they had to do it the hard way. He said there
Right.
was no holes. He said, like you see the holes with the garden, there was no holes. He had to go to the well, draw up the water, bring it to the field. He had to keep doing it. And he said it didn't end with just his father's field. He had to do his uncle's field. He said, you know how many brothers my father had? We did the math. He had 19 brothers. So that's like 19 separate farms.
Hmm.
Yeah, but he couldn't get away from it completely because he was used to. So he had a garden. He had a garden. I was like, well, Victor, I thought you hate farming. He said, this ain't farming. This is a garden and stuff like that. So he kept a hold of that. And my mom had a hold of it a little bit because you grew up eating the fresh fruits and vegetables. You get a taste for it, you know. So what you do is you plant your little garden.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But the whole sale farming with a plow and a mule, or as my grandfather say, if there was no mule, he was the mule. Yeah, yeah. Because the uncles had to share a mule, and whichever uncle had the mule, the ones that didn't, hey, they had to, do it themselves. Sometimes he said when he got older, sometimes his dad would do it. When he showed he can hold a plow steady. But yeah, so there's no. It's either we got modernized and we let completely go and didn't teach the next generation, or we did a small aspect. Like my grandfather had a garden, so my mom had a garden. His children, at some point or another, do a garden. Had one of my uncles. He grew up taking care of animals and the garden, and he got away from it. And then now he got a little farm and he got animals that he take care of, he raised up, and he got him a little garden. I was like, I would have never thought him of all of them because
Yeah.
it shows that some of it you can't get away from, and some of it we got away so completely to it. If we don't have the modern amenities, we wouldn't do it.
Well,
Or we would
yeah.
stop. Uh-huh.
And then it was probably difficult to do, back in the day under all that damn racism. So I can understand collectively why a lot of black folks have walked away from certain things because when you
Yeah. Because
doing
they
it
keep
under. Go
hmm
ahead.
yeah, like they said, we walked away from land. It was either you walk away or you die. Like you
Exactly.
walk away and watch your wife and your daughters get raped.
Hmm.
My great grandfather, okay, I don't know my father's side, but on my mom's side, her grandparents, how they ended up in the town they were, they both had to walk away from land they had because it was that or watch the women and your daughters be raped in front of you. So
Hmm.
they just dropped the land and they just took off. Now some people say, well, run away, you should have fought for it. You gotta understand the time period of the South. There was no you fight for it unless you had a whole group of people with you and it could backfire. But they would uh, jump down harder as it, so they left and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go into survival mode, but
Hmm. Hmm.
we also collected, and that's again that's on us brothers to do. 'Cause we're supposed to be the collectors of the community, but that's what I was talking about. Getting back to that, being in touch with your inner caveman.
Hmm.
You have to. There are times when you have to be willing to die, and some people are gonna die. And You stand up like that, everybody ain't gonna make it, but you have to go into that with the understanding. That's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I admire. I'm not, I'm not an advocate for them, but just as a recent, that's what I admire about some cats over in Afghanistan,
Mm-hmm.
the Taliban. That at least they're willing to strap bombs onto themselves to keep their way of life going. They'll do whatever ruthless thing necessary to keep their way of life going. Now, like I said, I'm no advocate for them, but you gotta
Yeah.
gotta respect the commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just something that we need to understand. Like black folks think that, we talk a lot about revolution, but people don't the main thing people ain't talking about is revolution requires bloodshed. Ain't
Yeah.
no ain't no way getting around that. And so we can have all these conversations that we want to have, but until you're ready to shed some blood,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna go down like that.
Yeah.
And then
And
we have
mm-hmm.
our people all divided. Like
Yeah.
I get the sisters' arguments about resting in your femininity and stuff, but that's even kind of a like all cultures have employed, even the white man, they've employed their women in the combat. I was actually my daughter, she did a book report about some famous female Russian sniper from World War
Uh-huh.
II, and she had I want to say close to 1,000 kills. It was some ridiculously high number, and she wasn't the only one. They had a whole team of female snipers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were out there taking men out, right
Mm-hmm.
along with the men. So, within
Yeah.
within any culture or whatever, when you go
Uh,
into survival mode, everybody's out there.
yeah. I think that group was called the Valkyries or something like that, something along that line. Yeah, and they didn't look down on the women for doing that. That's a man's job. Man's supposed to do this. Oh my god. But I think part of the problem is we worry a little bit too much what people think of. Cause think about it. Everything, every negative stereotype they have of us, we try so hard to combat that by being very hard the opposite of, you know.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Well.
by being the opposite, being so totally completely the opposite of trying to prove that we are not these things that you say we are. We are human beings, we are not animals. you know are we, we not thugs and gangsters, stuff like that, and that we got knocked off of what our positions are actually is, or are thrown off, and now we don't know who we are. I mean, not just know our history. We don't know who we are as as a people, as a gender. Because even though okay, let's say our great grandparents, our great grandparents, they didn't know their history neither, but they were able to do a whole bunch of things, and we're just, some of us are just discovering now how much they did with so little and stuff like that, and how they worked together as a group. We had the community thing. The traders or the coons were the least amount,
Yeah.
are they coon to a certain extent, because okay, like I was reading about, okay, there was a slave revolt in Louisiana, the biggest one in the country.
Hmm.
Well, what was not very known, that the leader of this slave revolt was actually, I guess you would say he was a coon or Uncle Tom. Okay, what the slave masters do, they would have a slave over the other slaves and stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And he was one of these type of slaves, and he was the leader of the biggest slave revolt that went all through Louisiana and Louisiana territory. And after that one, that was one of the ones that made the slave laws even worse. About us not congregating together, too many of us, and all that other stuff,
Hmm.
because he was in that position, and and they believe that the other slave hate him. he was able to organize a revolt and stuff, and they were not being they were killing people, men, women, children in their path, and they had to put it down so hard that everyone that participated in the slavery revolt, they cut their heads off and put them on posts down that whole route down that way that they took. I was like, how did they keep something like this quiet? You know, I knew there was a slave revolt in Louisiana, and there was a big one, but I didn't know all the details to it. I was like, how they were able to keep all this quiet? But that's the way it is. They
Well,
they
yeah,
stamped down so hard that they try to destroy the memory of, and then they try to keep it from happening again,
a-
because it's going to happen again. You know.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, that's what I was, it's like what I was talking to Max earlier. That's why I said we need to, and I never thought I'd live to see a time when like we dismantle our own history. They've turned us against each other so effectively that we don't respect our own. It's like I get that we are, we're our own individual tribe over here in America. As African Americans, and I'm proud of our history. But like we are connected to the brothers and sisters in Africa, and Black people should be connected worldwide. That all this I don't. It pains me when I hear people talk that way because it's that's division. We don't need division. We need to, there's nothing wrong with our respecting our individual cultures, but we are all together. And,
But
you know,
but you gotta understand, there's a certain level of division. Okay, when somebody's proven to be a traitor or a danger to the collective, you need to separate yourself from them.
oh,
You need
oh,
division. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. No,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. Anybody that's, anybody
Yeah.
that's negative or whatever, I need to, there's certain channels that I don't go to anymore because they've gone too far with this gender divide and they literally sound like white supremacists. And what did it for me is one of my little godsons over, he's about 12 or 13. I try to find stuff for him to listen to that, it's
Mm-hmm.
cool. But like I was I had it on my speaker or whatever. He's in the other room doing, and he came in and he's like, Uncle Man, he's like, who are you listening to? And he was like, those are Black people. I was like, yeah. And he was like, they sound like prejudiced white people. Like they sound like white supremacists. And I was like, yeah, you right about that. So I, kind of shook me awake. I was like, man, I gotta, some of these people I gotta unsubscribe from because they using language like that. We need to. I
Mm-hmm.
hate the way we talk to each other, especially online.
Uh-huh.
Calling each other dusties and mammies and all kinds of crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
I hate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then these languages changed over time, or is different from each. Let's see, a collective of people. Their areas and their history and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so the meanings of the words have changed and stuff like that. Because I grew up where where there's a lot of code switching, among the blacks. We didn't okay, like in my family, we didn't kiss white people's behind and stuff like that. But we tolerated certain things to get what we needed to get to the next step. Like, okay, like my great uncle, my grandfather's little brother, he tolerate that these white people seen him as less as,
Hmm.
um and he ended up getting experience on what they call it, these docking, these cranes from when the ships and come in, and they have these cranes to lift all this stuff
Yeah.
because of a pride of two angry white people. They were angry with each other and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And he observed this man for a year,
Hmm.
but he put up with the man treating, calling him boy when he's a grown man. He tolerate them, occasionally slipping the N word and stuff like that at him. And he observed and he learned. And then when the two white people pride got involved, he's like, he became part of a challenge of a bet. Said He said, I'm teaching. He said, I know how to teach. You don't know how to learn. He said, I could take any man you want. It's as dumb as stupid as you name it. And in fact, I could teach a monkey how to work this crank. And
And you know,
those were the magic words. And my
and
uncle happened to be there, and they pointed him out.
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yes.
hear you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, man? We're the only people on earth that thinks the way we think,
Mm-hmm.
and it's to our detriment. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
else thinks like us. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like if you have Ugandans over in Uganda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ugandans don't care about any other Africans.
Mm.
Haitians don't care about Haitians don't care about any other black people.
Well, I think they care about them, but I think they haven't. It's like okay, it's like family members. Like you care about your cousins and you know your first cousin, second cousin. But I mean, do you care, or are you more
Yeah, but
focused with the individual people, your
yeah, but
family that's
not
right
to,
in your house
right,
every day?
right, but
Of
not
course
to
you are.
the right, but not to the detriment of them advancing or building. You see, black people do it to the point where it's to our detriment. Like we spread ourselves all over the globe, right? But when you look at home, there's nothing here for us. You got black people right now, right, who got large channels about everybody else except black people. Like none of these people can tell you exactly what's going on with black people right now. They can't even identify with who black people are over here in America. I can bring you guys off of panels right now who come on panels every day, black people, right, talking all kinds of stuff, white supremacist talking points, talking about the pyramids in Egypt, right? But can't even identify with who black people are today.
Yeah.
And this is our fault because we don't focus on ourselves.
Oh
We're
yeah.
too busy concerned with what's going on with our brethren and the diaspora. And I hate to say it, but our brethren in the diaspora aren't concerned with us. They're concerned with their own issues and their own personal advancements. And they're not going to put us over them.
Right, as they shouldn't, but I don't think it's not that they're not concerned. I think you can have concerns and and that can run parallel with also taking care of your
Okay,
interests.
let me
I
ask you a
just think
question.
what's that?
It's 2021, right? Give me a rough estimate. Okay, you can do it this way. You can say, um, you can do it in percentages. Well, let's just do one country for right now. Okay, let's just take the country Ghana and Africa, right?
Hmm.
I think Ghana got something like 16 million people in it, something like that, maybe more, or
Yeah.
20 something. I got to ask Abby. Let's just say they got 20 million people, right?
Hmm.
Now here it is, 2021. Give me a percentage of the African people in Ghana who actually even know about our history here in America.
Shoot, probably
Take
maybe
a
somewhere
wild guess.
around
Take a wild guess.
maybe 20%.
No, it's actually less than 5%.
Okay. Well, I mean,
You
I'm
see,
not.
and the thing about it is right. This it's been decades, right?
Hmm.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, there shouldn't be any reason why everybody in Africa don't know about our plight over here in America, since that's where our ancestors came from, right? But
Hmm.
they don't know. They don't know. You can still find people in Africa right now that don't have a clue about what happened to us, nor are they trying to find out because they're not concerned.
I don't know, man. I chat with a lot of brothers and sisters online and stuff from Africa, and they're a lot of them are aware of our plight, and they're very,
Yeah,
they're
some of
very
them are.
concerned.
Yeah, some
I
of them
just,
are. Our
I think.
very own Abina Beko, right?
Hmm.
She's right. She's very, very aware of what happened to us.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are. A lot of them don't know what happened to. A lot of them don't know what happened to us. A lot of them don't care. And again, we have to be very, very understanding about who we are and how far our friendship is supposed to reach. Because these other, black groups or whatever, right? They're not so willing to accept us as their brothers and sisters, or even accept us as friends.
Well, that's because they've been taught all kinds of horrible things about us, just like we were taught horrible things about them.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
remember when I was younger, and they
Some of them
made it
are.
seem like everybody in Africa was living in a mud hut, and it was in
Yeah, but
need
yeah,
of.
yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
that's some of them, right? That's some of them. But a lot of them have a natural distance from us. A natural distance. They don't know us. They don't claim us. They feel no kindred to us.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, right? And so going back to the pyramids, right? Yeah, just if we want to claim that we built the pyramids, I'm not mad at that. I mean, we've been saying that for for centuries, right? But the bottom line is, those black people that built the pyramids, they weren't kin to us. I
Well,
know we want to make them kin because they, established something magnificent, but they're no kindred to us.
I don't necessarily mean direct bloodline kin, but it's just from our amongst our people. They did something great. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. That's another thing. They've convinced us. They've done such a great psychological job on this that we don't even want to claim our history. I put it to you like this: I feel the kinship with the whole pyramid thing in the same way that Irish people in America feel their kinship to Ireland. Now they're Irish Americans. A lot of them ain't been to Ireland a day in their damn life. Probably never will go. But they'll brag all day about a Rob Roy or whoever the hell their people are. They'll tell you about family crests, even though they're hundreds of years removed from that. So that's the thing. I don't think that you're supposed to I don't think you're supposed to run around and you know tout that like it's some magical thing. But I mean, I'm not going to allow white folks to steal or minimize our history. I'm gonna talk my shit about my people just like they do. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse to not do anything, or that you shouldn't run around with your little silly hats on and be like, yes, our people built the pyramids in Africa. Yeah, that's something that we did. I think it should be embraced or whatever, especially for our children, because they need to know that they have a long, glorious history. Like my father used to always tell me, our history began way before slavery. Don't let these people teach you that we were just slaves and that's all the hell we ever were, and we wasn't nothing until we got to America. He's like, we had a long history before slavery, and we're not slaves. Like you said, he was like, we were kidnapped. We weren't enslaved. We were kidnapped too. He was like, watch the wording. He was like, a lot of this, a lot of this wordsmithing that white people do is to kind of get you psychologically over a barrel about stuff. So that's when I talk about pyramids and stuff like that, just to say that my people did stuff too. Like that pisses me off because they make it, they want to cut us out of history for everything, like like we never did anything, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna let you do that. Like we have a glorious history too. We weren't just we had a history before we came here. It's like we had kings and queens. We call each other king and queen. I get that it's corny to some extent, but just to know that it's not just white people that had monarchies, and it's like that. We had kings and queens also. So that's my understanding about the history thing. I don't, I know that we can't rely on that now, but just from a historical fact, and especially for the children. I don't like it when little black kid, I had to tell a little black boy a couple of weeks ago or whatever. He was like, they had kings and queens in Africa. I was like, yeah. And he was like, I thought they only had them in like places like England. And I was like, no. I said, we had kings and queens. We had nobility and royalty too. I was like, I know they don't teach you that. They teach you about their history. So that's why I just, I don't think we should downplay the pyramids and stuff like that, especially for the children coming up. They need to know that they have a long history. They have a history that stretches back long before slavery, and that, we weren't just subjugated people.
Yeah, I hear you. I know that's how that got started and stuff like that. Hey, your people, did a lot of things, and they were part of a lot of things. They weren't just some tribe in Africa. You know, they
Right.
were they were this and that. They were architectures, mathematicians,
Right.
scientists.
Yeah.
They were a lot of the medicines. And she was a medical apartheid book. The little bit I got out of it because I couldn't read it by myself. Not a lot of medicines came from us.
Yeah.
Came from blacks. It came from Africans. It came from people. Shoots a lot of the foods. You know,
Right.
how you gonna make
Oh,
something that's supposed to be scrap or slop or unedible edible to such a point that is a cuisine, it's a specialty. White
yeah.
people eating it.
Exactly. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Hold on one sec. Hey. Oh. Hey, mom. Hey, you guys.
Hey, son.
Let
Hey,
me
peace. How y'all doing? How y'all doing?
Hey,
Okay, go
hey,
ahead.
pretty good. Pretty. Yeah, my mom just walked in. I'm gonna drop down. I'll come back up in a little bit. I'm gonna talk to my mom for a second.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Word.
All right. Bye bye.
All right. So,
Oh,
so you can't. All right. So,
Y'all had some good conversation going on there.
mhm,
All
mhm.
I could do was take heed and listen.
Yeah, yeah.
How you doing today, Lady Dame?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And
That's
yeah, so yeah, I think a lot of this it's something that we start off to let know that there's more to us than slavery, and it just went overboard, and and it's taken to the point that now it's creating the division, or we become obsessed with the king and queen part and nothing else, or that there were scientists. Are we not using it? Are we gonna learn the history? You got to learn to use it.
yep, definitely. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
definitely
if
agree with
you
that. It's
just
like,
gathering information and you're not using it, it's
yeah.
useless.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like we could have all this knowledge and then we could start doing the knowledge. We could do the knowledge all day, but we're going to be doing the knowledge to the point that we're just daydreaming. But if we're not carrying this stuff into practice and actually using this knowledge to nation build, at the current time, it's just, we're just stuck in the past, you know. Now there'll be some people that'll be like, oh well, all people are stuck on this religion, and that's all biblical stuff for the past or the Quran or whatever. Yeah, that's true. There are those people in the conscious community. They talk about the pyramids, Kemet, Egypt, Nubia, and that's all good. But where do we go from here? And as Max would say, there's some of these cats can't even pinpoint the current state and condition of of us as a people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a shame, but we got our heads in all these books, and and that, like I said, it's all good, but now we gotta put that into practice. Instead of doing all the knowledge, let's start doing the understanding and get to work. Can anyone hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you, Hassan.
Okay, but that's what it is. I mean, I got books. I got shelves of books. I mean, but after a while, if I'm not using what I learned, what was the point of even like investing in time to read and try to gather all this information and knowledge? If I'm trying to gather knowledge, the next thing is I'm trying to put all that to work. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we got to take this to another level.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so that's why kind of fed up with the conscious community Hebrew Israelite. They're taking this information, but they're not using it, or they're using it for personal gain, or they're using it to scam. But or but it's not being used for the betterment of the community.
Right. It's the two things that you said, the latter two things, personal gain and scamming. It's, I mean, I mean, I don't mind you being who you are, but just use that to build up yourself and be a good person. Like build up character, build up some dignity, some integrity, you know? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, don't just use it to try to indoctrinate and get over on somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because those days is getting played out and real fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. All
Hey,
right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm back up here. Dame, is Yvette still on the chat?
I think so. I can't tell because she's not responding. Oh, she's not saying anything for right now. I'm assuming she's either in the clouds.
Okay, well, I didn't time you out, Yvette. You know, YouTube has been messing with us. Um, sorry you got timed out, but that wasn't me. I did not time you out. You know, YouTube has been screwing with us lately. They've been timing people out. They've been blocking people. You know, but that wasn't me. I was actually up here on the panel. That wasn't me. I didn't time you out.
Wow.
Yeah. I think what it is, they wanted to remove what she was saying about, that farming, construction, trade. That's something that we all need because it seemed to remove her whole message. Yeah, trade is extremely important for sure. Farming, sewing, plumbing, any type of construction.
Really?
Yeah. So I
So wait,
think
wait,
what
wait, hold
it
up.
is,
So they removed that message. YouTube did
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But the way they do it is, it looks like is Max, and I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be Max down there. When I saw it, because you see, back here on the screen, we couldn't see it. I used my phone to check on things and type stuff out in the chat, and I saw that she was timed out.
oh
I'm like,
wow.
what the heck? So I'm backing up. It says it must be extreme, you know. But I just wait a minute, that can't be Max. He's on the panel, and that usually means he don't have time to go down
Right.
there and do
I
that.
mean, before I got on the panel, I saw he timed Yvette out, but that's not the case.
Mm-mm.
So now I bore witness that they be playing games on YouTube now.
Hmm.
Now I know what Max is talking about.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
They're
see
trying
that.
they block people. They're trying to run people away from the network. Oh, okay. Now I
Yeah,
understand.
or they try to block their messages. I think it was what she was saying. That when she was talking about, yeah, we need farmers, because it seemed to happen right after that. Yeah, not too long after that. Because I know I saw the messages her saying that. I was like, yeah, yeah, we need trade, construction, all that stuff. And the next thing you know, she's timed out, and the timeout will remove it. Well, shoot, she might be more than timeout. Um, to
Yeah, I
remove
hope
it
not.
completely because it like remove everything. But I
Wow.
don't see her blocked or anything.
Mm.
Is
Yeah,
she still in the chat?
that's the thing. We don't know. She timed out for 5 minutes. That's why Truth is asking why. I said, whoa, wait. Truth is going in and out in his wrench again. Yes, definitely YouTube is in here. Every time Truth is go from wrench to unwrench, that's what happens.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube Popo.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good.
Yeah, because he was like, why she was so silent, because she couldn't say anything.
Right. And
But
I mean, and from what you're running by me, I saw no fault in that statement and why it was blocked in the first place.
yeah, I
So
even went back from a first greeting. There's nothing in there, so why would nothing like that reason would max time out? I said, well, but she accidentally tap. Sometimes fumble fingers, big fingers. You go after one person and you get the other. I've done that a time or two as a moderator, and I used to have to pause. Sorry, didn't mean to get you. Was after the other person, but I couldn't see anybody talking around her that was saying something where they would shoot. They would be trying to. But oh, I think we're coming under the attention of YouTube and stuff like that, and I was already ready to, kind of close out, but we was having such an interesting discussion.
All right.
Oh,
Well, hopefully she'll come back and or else I
mhm.
mean I see her in other live streams too, so
Uh-huh.
I could let her know, hey man, YouTube be on some BS, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well, we're back on their radar again. We haven't been messed with in a while.
yeah. But now I understand what Max be all saying. So
Yeah.
it's it's real out here. It's real out
Oh
here in
yeah.
these YouTube streets.
Yeah. Whenever we get to some serious stuff and we giving information to help each other out or better ourselves, all kind of crazy stuff happen.
Yep.
They start wrenching us, removing wrenches, hiding people. I'm surprised I didn't see her hitting. It looked like they just timed her out. But
Yeah.
to delete for it to remove all what she talked about instead of
Yeah.
just that moment meant I'm hoping they didn't hide her and stuff like that. But I don't see where she's hid. Let me check something real
So
quick.
virtually we're congregating and that's unlawful on these YouTube streets.
Hmm. Yeah, they say, oh, it's a glitch or it's the AI or some nonsense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nonsense. That's all it is.
Okay, y'all, we go wrap it up and do it because I'm tired, Max tired. We gotta get up early, and now that YouTube is messing with it, we back on their radar. I guess
Yeah.
we've been doing too much gangster.
Well, I don't think we were gangster enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I was hoping y'all could stay for another half, but y'all gotta go. I'm here
Hmm.
until 8 o'clock doing some OT at the Weston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a crazy week ahead of me. So I'm gonna get through it.
Uh huh. All right then. Thanks for coming up for some.
Oh, thank y'all
Uh,
for having me.
okay. Hmm. And Briggs, thanks for coming up. Sorry, truth is, got to watch the replay. Um, yeah. Yvette, if you in the clouds, no, we didn't time you out. We didn't hide you. We didn't block you. I'm going to check in the back later on to make sure that it didn't do that. And but yeah, I think what it is, they didn't like what you was YouTube didn't like what you were saying, or didn't like what we were saying. Period, and you just happened to get the swipe. Truth is, your wrench will probably come back because I know from experience, your wrench is still in our section for moderators. All right, everybody, peace, power, and unity. We go ahead and head out, and we'll see you next time. Who knows what the next gangster talk is gonna be about? All right, let's go out with some music. Mhm. All right, let me unmute my